Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Key word right there is success. Who doesn't want that? We have goals. We're trying to move our lives forward in all different directions, whether that success is professional, if it's a personal goal or goals that you have. There is a system I want to share with you today that she has developed that rides on many different themes, spirituality, and so much more. She's an author, a speaker, a coach, and so much more. And she's trademarked this system that has been designed to change the way you write and also, in speaking with her, change the way you think. She is Professor Marilyn Horowitz, back on the program today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Real good. Just want to say, as I've said before, but it seems to be blossoming here as we wrap up the summer. Your book, Bad Girl Pie. I mean, the reviews are coming in. People are loving it. Dorothy is the main character. And interestingly, she uses your system to pilot her life forward. So let's put that microscope on the on your system. You know, I said it's about writing, but it's so much more. How would you explain it? I just ran into Marilyn in the elevator, and she was talking about the system. I haven't seen her in years. What would you say to me?
I'd say, well, 25 years ago, I created a way of writing screenplays that called on a lot of brain science in there, and an understanding that we're hardwired for story, and finding a way to take what people were already experts at, because we dream 3 times a night, whether we remember or not, and finding a way just to reapply an expertise. It's the outlier thing. You need 10,000 hours. Well, we're all experts. We dream every night. We've had lives. We're all story experts. The idea was to take the focus and apply it, right? So that was very successful. So I've taught thousands of people to write a good screenplay, and novels, books, nonfiction. And why it's valuable is not beyond the writing, which is great. It also reorganizes your mind and how you feel about yourself, because the expectation that you have is what allows you to either succeed or fail. And it's an underneath hidden story that's not obvious. And the problem is that we're hardwired for it. It's a survival mechanism. And so most of the prescriptive techniques help, but they don't actually solve the problem, because how do you convince your biological imperative, whose single job is to keep your body alive, that being happy is healthy, that it's better than what you have so far? Because that part of you says, "Hey, we got this far. What do you mean you want me to change, grow, or be happy? Who cares? I'm getting up in the morning. Life is good, right?" And I was very unhappy with that, and so I figured a way to solve it.
I'm glad you said that. I never considered that. And I'm a big proponent of the notion that there's a story in everything in your life. There's a story there. So I never looked at it that way, that we're experts. We're story experts. However, we're not necessarily storytelling experts. And that's where your expertise comes in to help us figure that all out. But in a very profound way, where you blend spirituality and a lot of other beliefs, notions in getting that done. Spirituality, what is it to you?
Spirituality to me, to be honest, is a marketing term that I really don't like. I'll be honest. In other words, I again, everything in society is intended to separate ourselves from ourselves and from other people. And on a biological level, there's no question. There's no question that the body has a certain level of faith, or it wouldn't have the how it is when you almost get hit by a car and you jump back. If physically you didn't have some kind of belief that success or survival was possible. So it's not that I mind term spirituality. I just find language so divisive. So the idea is we have to define different kinds of spirituality. So if you want to be really deep about it, when you read Eckhart Tolle or you look at anything that wants you to be present, it's all well and good, but by the time you acknowledge the present, it's over. There's no, it's a logical fallacy. You can't be present, because by the time you name it, it's now the past. So where I come from, I told you I come from a mother. It was in the philosophy of logic. So, and 2 generations of lawyers. So try to get a fast one past me, you're going to fail.
You have a fascinating way of looking at things. So My journey changed, and I had, the wake up and then further wake ups from somebody saying to me, and this was just about 5 years ago, why don't you ever live in the present? Why don't you ever live for now? You're always stuck in the past and in the future. This person just appeared out of nowhere.
Yeah,
I think that it was a reason. It was a reason. But interesting what you said. And many of us are encouraged to live in the now, the present. And I do believe that if you slice this second right here, everything's good. Slice this one right here. Take that one right there. It's all good. But
logical fallacy.
But to your point, there is no present because the present already happened.
Correct.
I have to rewire the way I think about things now.
Yeah, again, and why that matters. In other words, it's not angels dancing on the head of a pin. And why it matters is because the whole subtext of all spirituality in our society is blaming the victim. It's your fault that you can't live in the present. The fact that the present doesn't exist never comes up. It's your fault that you can't live in it. You understand? This is the basic setup of religion. It's a setup of society. It's a setup of our education system. It's a setup of language. It's a fundamental intention because there's always a top guy in the cave that wants to boss everybody around, regardless of his or her gender. All right. It's really important to take that on. And so this idea of a benign universe where the universe is there is a crock. All right. As soon as there are people, as soon as there is something to be gotten, whether it's a better position near the fire or more money, someone, because of the nature of human beings, and you can talk to the creator about why he developed this or she developed it, but it doesn't matter. The point is, we're there. So you have a choice, which is you can be a dolphin, you can be a tuna, or you can be a shark. This is from Robert Ringer, who wrote a great book on real estate. So a shark is obviously a shark. That's the predator. That's the guy who wants to be closest to the fire in the cave, right? Then there are people like you and me who are, hey, we just want to swim. We just want to be there and be present. And if someone gets in our way, the worst thing we'll do is we'll ram them. That's what dolphins do, by the way. They can beat sharks because they can move faster. And then the last one is a tuna, which is like most people, you're just a victim. You accept that you're wrong. You accept that you failed. You accept that you're not enough. You accept that you can't be here now. You accept that, you can't be good enough to, get to heaven or whatever it is. This is all societal conditioning that's intended to keep someone on top and you underneath. That's the whole game. I come from the entertainment business. I come from two generations of lawyer, and I come from theologians who wrote books about Christianity and Judaism. So trust me, I'm a person who's had the opportunity to look at this story in so many settings, and it just got me angry. After 17 years of therapy, I'm like, really? Can this really be my fault if I've worked this hard and I've been this assiduous and I've done this much good and I definitely have earned my way into heaven? If I'm still suffering, is it really me? And the answer is no, it's not. And maybe the big message of Bad Girl Pie is she realizes that it's not her fault. And when she lets go of having to be in a relationship with reality where it's someone's fault, boom.
Lots to process here. I've heard this term and I want your feedback on it. We're addicted to suffering. Many of us were addicted to suffering. Do you believe that?
Yes, but not for the reasons that person said that, okay? Because the person said that to keep you suffering. All these things that are supposed to help you hurt you. To remind you that we love. The answer is no. I don't think we really do. I think we're much more like dogs or cats than we are like people, really, underneath. And I think that if you can get out of this head frame, see, the problem is that everybody agrees. This is what language is. This is what religion is. This is what society is. We all have to agree on things, whether they're true or not. We all have to agree on things, whether they hurt us personally or not, because we need to all stay alive and be next to the fire. Okay, go back to the cave. We have not evolved. That's part of what we're dealing with and all the stuff that I'm doing. So the system allows you to take a step backwards and say, okay, what if I was right? What if I'm not writing because I have nothing to say or I'm not sure and I don't want to waste my own time? What if I'm overeating because the food I'm eating is not giving me the nutrition I deserve and I'm working too hard? What if it's not my fault? What if the reason I'm in a bad relationship is I've never had the experience from a good one and I'm blamed for not knowing? It's just a complete reframe, and this is really my passion, which is there's no now. I love Eckhart Tolle. I love all these people, but there is no now because there is a now, but it's experiential. It does not exist in language. Okay, that's the point. The point is your creative unconscious can experience now very easily. But as soon as you name it, the time frame, as soon as you name something, it's in a time frame. Once it's in a time frame, it's a story. It's not real. That's the problem.
I need to process that part right now.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Once you put a label on something, it instantly has an expiration date.
No, it's a narrative. I mean, it can go on for thousands of years, but the point is it's no longer true in the sense of something happening and you're actually experiencing it. The moment that you have to encapsulate it in language or make a painting in a cave, you are not in the present.
Is there ever any time when we are in the present? It doesn't sound like.
We're in the present now, where you and I are having such an intense conversation. We're not aware of time passing. We're not aware of language interfering our connection. We have an absolute perfect connection, plug and socket. We are understanding itself perfectly. And language is the vehicle, which is what it's supposed to be. But it's not creating any barriers. You're not telling yourself another story while I'm talking, which is very unusual. Because most people, when they hear this stuff, it's like, no, blah, 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 all of their, but you've obviously accomplished the spiritual goal. You are completely present. But the moment as you say I'm present, you lost it.
And we are present as we connect with each other. We're in real time right now. So you're saying once we name it or name anything, then it's over.
The story.
Is there a way? Let's go back to the dolphin, the tuna, and the shark. Is it possible to transition from a tuna to a shark?
Yeah, we're all of those things. We need those parts because they're all part of our biological imperative to survive. But the problem is that we are told that we are supposed to be certain ways about things, that we need to do that in order to survive. And what happens is we're never given time in our society to actually find out how we process things. Immediately we're taught how to walk. Immediately we're told when we're supposed to be sleeping, awake, toilet train. I'm not saying there's an alternative. This is just one of the hard realities of being on the planet, but it's a fact. Every time you want to do something and your mom doesn't want you to, and the alternative is getting hit or yelled at or whatever, you have to make a decision. People like me took on being hit because I wouldn't say no. And that's why I'm this miserable cuss that I am today. I'm the emperor's new clothes. I'm saying, there is no now. What are you talking about? There's a now, but you can't put it in a book. And by telling me I'm supposed to be present, you're making me wrong, which means you win. I buy your book. I buy some more books. I go to therapy, feel bad. I have bad relationships. I buy things. I spend money. I'm a good consumer. Then I get myself sick and I end up in the hotel system, either in a hospital, a hotel, or prison. And, then you become a copper top battery, like the Matrix, where we're just, consumer machines. I mean, that's how it really is. And it's only people like you who are, wake up and suddenly go, wait, not doing that. I mean,
your system, because you've helped thousands of people improve their writing school skills and screenwriting and all of that. Yeah, some people might perceive the system to be for that, but it's not just that, right?
Never was. Because my background is, in the 40s, my grandparents were both lawyers. Wrote a book called Faith Through Reason, which was two Jewish lawyers reconciling Christianity and Judaism, which is a big deal. And it was used very widely. In 200 pages, they kind of took care of a lot of stuff. And I come from that lineage. My mother, was a philosophy professor. Her PhD was in suicide, whether or not it's an immoral act. I mean, you come from a family where these things are considered important, and it's not just about thinking; it's the way you actually, the whole Jewish tradition, the Talmudic tradition is, we're called the chosen people for. It's totally backwards. We're not chosen because we're good. We're chosen because we're given this eternal punishment of having to behave better. All right.
With the word spiritual. Do you think that, and I know it's a label and sometimes it's perceived differently by people all the time. Is it more about, change the word spiritual, call it whatever you want, but is it really about connecting with oneself?
That's all there is. I mean, even Descartes, who's the great, intellectual, I think therefore I am. That's that guy. That's Descartes. Okay. So Descartes, much repressed and not written about, had this theory that the pineal gland, which is in the center of our head, was actually the connection point between the soul and the intellect. This is Descartes. I think I think I am, but it's an amazing thing to think about. He didn't pursue it to the point where it became scientific. I don't know that there was science as we know it back then. But the fact that he could imagine that there was an actual contact point, like a plug going into the socket in the middle of our head, is a very good description of what spirituality really is. There is a place, whether it's he's right or whatever's right, there's a place, and you can feel it when you're in flow, like we're in flow. You can feel that there's a plug in a socket. It's somewhere in there. You can actually experience it physically as a state of flow. And so if you want to call it spirituality, that's great. It's just the problem is that every time you label something, someone else is going to make money off you. I'm sorry to be so cynical, but that's what I've seen all my life. You know,
I don't disagree. It's and the pineal gland is also called the third eye, where your intuition comes in, your ability to maybe see a little bit into the future. Some say, is it real?
Well, I mean, it depends. You know, in Taoist yoga, they call this area in your brain the crystal palace, and it's represented as a square. Where actually, because you have four important endocrine glands up there: the thymus, the hypothalamus, the pineal gland, and the pituitary. Right, and they all basically sit, metaphorically in a square. So there literally is a place where when you meditate, if you focus on that part of you, you can feel stuff. You can feel yourself tingling or whatever. I had to say, Steve, that again. This is not what I'm an expert on. I'm an expert on having people not be fooled and not allowing the world to blame people for things that are not their fault. That's really I think that's maybe the thing I would like to leave, is to have people have some kind of story mechanism, because it requires, you have to cut story with story, right? You need a knife to cut a piece of cheese, right? You have to have tools, right? So if the illusion is the hunk of cheese, well, my system is the knife that helps you cut pieces out and get what you need.
Do you feel that a lot of us are challenged, or call it stuck, very common term, because we're blaming ourselves for so many things?
Yes, I absolutely think that is it. And that's part of what my new book is about, and why it's frustrating, because it just sounds like everything else, but it's not.
Within your book, Bad Girl Pie, take what we're talking about right now and translate it to that story with Dorothy.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, she doesn't name it, and it's not. It's only now that we're talking about it that I'm thinking about it. But actually, that's exactly what she does. She has to. She is so wronged that she has no choice but to figure out who's to blame. I guess that's a good way to put it. I mean, what happens is so bad that there's just no way for her not to go, you know what? It's not my fault. It's her fault. And I think with a lot of people, it takes something like that. I'll give you a friend. I have a friend who has two very emotionally damaged sisters that she's taken care of for most of her life. And at a certain point, something happened, and I said, you can't do this anymore. It's not your fault. You're not responsible for this next level of responsibility. And thank God she went, you know what, you're right. And within 3 weeks, she realized that this person who was creating so many problems for her had a daughter, had a family. There was a place, there were people who could come and help. And she just stepped out of feeling like, she was the only healthy one in her family. And so she was responsible for taking care of the rest of her family. It's a big deal when you make that kind of realization. Small but big,
But there's many reasons for that. People pleasers. We get stuck into making sure that people are happy and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, at the expense of ourselves. Ultimately, we're doing it because of, as I understand it, trauma from our past, our childhood, where we didn't feel worthy enough. So we want to win people over.
Did you hear what you just said? You should listen to this. You have just blamed everybody for doing what they did. You have to go listen to this. It's very subtle.
Okay? I have to rewind that in my mind.
I know. I said, you need to go, you're going to hear it. You're going to hear it because we're talking about it. And the answer is no. I think that everything comes back to, I don't think we've left the cave very far. And I think that everything we do is a matter of survival in relative terms, including spirituality, because people like me know that when you're connected, you're safe. When you're not connected, you're not safe. And I mean that in the sense that you have an inner GPS that when that car comes at you, there's something that pulls you back so you don't get hit.
Connected to what?
It's yourself, another part of yourself. we're
connected to oneself.
yeah.
Okay. Well, let's go back to people pleasing, because it's a real thing. It's many of us go above and beyond to take care of others. You were just, stating that and this is, I'm just repeating things that I've heard, that many of us are people pleasers because it goes back in our history where we need to overcompensate, and we want to be liked, and we want to be valued. So we're going to do whatever we can to please others. Meanwhile, we're not taking care of ourselves. In your eyes, how does that statement look?
That statement looks 100% accurate and very insightful of you to observe that. And the whole point of what I'm up to, with the word of the day and the writing, is that once you know how to tell a story from beginning, middle, and end, without even thinking about it, you start looking at your own story and you start to realize, in other words, I don't have to do any work. You don't have to go to therapy. Not that there's anything wrong with therapy, but you do this first. In other words, once you understand how stories are constructed on this soul level, if you like, then naturally, because it's all about survival, you understand that what happens is the biological imperative, which was keeping you enslaved and people pleasing, flips, and it goes, wait a minute, when this biological form is taking care of itself, it's happy and it's much healthier. Digestion's working, it's sleeping, all this. Maybe I need to direct all of these survival impulses to add in this component. And it's only when you start to entrain that. And basically what you're doing with my writing system, whether you're writing or Bad Girl Pie or whatever, is you're pushing the button so that the biological imperative does a spontaneous reset and goes, oh, I see. Just surviving is no longer what's needed to keep this body healthy. I need to find a way to allow this person to be happy and self-caring. That's what I'm up to.
Well, essentially, isn't this changing your story? We all have a story in our mind, where we came from, where we are, what's going on in life today, we think. Nobody knows. Yes. We think what's going to happen tomorrow, but that's all part of our story.
Yeah. With your I'm sorry, I have to say that. Which part of you needs to change? Finish your thought. I'm sorry.
Well, okay. Which part of the story needs to be rewritten within us?
Excellent.
Now I see it. Now I get it. Now I get it. Right. Yeah. This is about writing. It is. It's about rewriting your story. And of course, many of the stories we tell ourselves are false. It's based on false information. It's based on your subconscious, the way the child in you interpreted the story. And now as an adult, you're telling yourself the same story over and over again, whether you know it or not. Yep. It's wrong. It's a lie. It's a fable. It's fiction, not real.
But again, there's a subtle blaming in what you're saying, which you can listen to later.
Where is that? You're
saying, well, it's like a fable. It's so-and-so, that you're denigrating this thing, and it's not to be denigrated. It's to be respected. You see, again, it's not a fable. It's a survival tool. The fact that it's the wrong tool is not your fault. It's the only thing you had to work with. And no one said to you when you were about 18 and you started developing neocortex, hey, a lot of the stuff that you did when you were a kid worked really well then, but maybe it's no longer going to work for you. So let's give you some new tools.
Let me abridge what I said in terms of it being a fable or fiction. If the story was real because you created it, but that story doesn't apply to you now.
You're blaming yourself again. You didn't create it. You tried to stay alive. How is that your fault? How is that creation in the sense that you made it? It's not.
Well, it goes back to one thing. It's what do we all want? Marilyn, what do we want? We want to be safe.
That's right. You want to survive on whatever level that's happening, whether it's, making more money or your physical body. Sure. You and I are imperfect, but you're just not hearing. And hopefully you will hopefully we'll go back and just spend 5 minutes. You're going to hear the subtle condemnation in so many of your comments. And
I think we're saying the same thing.
Totally. We're saying totally, but I want you to hear this, because then once you hear it, you'll stop doing it and you'll start to notice when other people do it and you'll tell them to stop it.
Well, I agree with you 100% that what we're doing, the story that we're piloting on, comes from the past, our childhood, or sometime, in the past, but it was there to protect us and keep us safe. But the story doesn't apply so much anymore. You would agree, right?
I 100% agree. And how come we were not given tools by those around us to find new stories?
Agreed. Yeah, what tool did I use? Hypnotherapy. It worked. And it's
right
always
to the source. You went right into your opinion. You went right to the source.
I went to the writer.
You did. Exactly.
Exactly. How do we engage you to learn more about your system? The books, you can find them everywhere. Bad Girl Pie, doing fantastic. Just a great story. What's your website, Marilyn?
My website is marilynhorowitz.com. And if you want to know how to spell it, it's Marilyn like the movie star and Horowitz like the piano player, neither of whom I'm related to. So MarilynHorowitz. And last night I gave one of my webinars, and we did a technique that relates to the system and how to use story to resurrect yourself in a way that is blame-free. And I have them every 2 weeks. They're free. I have books. I have webinars. I think I've written 8 books or something. So the idea is before you start telling yourself you're telling the wrong story and that you're not enough, how about assessing what it is that you actually are telling yourself?
I love it. And it was great spending this moment now with you that doesn't exist.
Well, it did exist a second ago.
Well, it did. Yes, it did. Thank you for today. Thank you for the clarity on all of this. And pilot by the right story. If you're gonna live your life, it should be with a story that supports you at this time. I don't know if this time is now, but this time.
Well, the best we can do is that are those terms. So again, we're not. It's just now there you go, blaming yourself for not having the right terms. It's perfect. Whatever it is you're doing, it's perfect.
You have the tool.
Yes, you have it with it.
Thank you so much for today. We'll catch up soon. Okay.
Okay. We'll see you next time.
Appreciate it.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama, like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.